Jack, a 20-year-old student from Chicago, was your typical American guy. He was brave, ambitious, but naive in his own way. One day, he got lucky and landed a prestigious internship in New York. His goal was clear: work, career, success. But one encounter changed his life. It all started when Jack moved into an old mansion on the outskirts of the city. He felt that renting a place in New York for such a low price was a stroke of luck. But when he saw the mansion itself, he felt uneasy. Ancient architecture, faded paintings, stained glass, and an eerie silence. The owner of the house, Mrs. Evelyn, was an elderly woman in her 80s. She was extremely elegant, but in her eyes was a strange mixture of wisdom and longing. Every time Jack saw her, he felt something inexplicable drawing him toward her. He couldn't quite figure out what captivated him: her manners, her mystery, or something else hidden in her dark eyes. One day, Mrs. Evelyn invited him for tea. Jack felt that this was his chance to get to know her better and uncover the secrets of the mansion. Over a cup of fragrant tea, she began to tell stories. Her tales were captivating, full of passion and tragedy. She spoke of grand balls, intrigues, the people she loved, and those she lost. Every word seemed to come from another time. Jack couldn't take his eyes off her lips. Every gesture of hers was refined and alluring. Weeks passed and their conversations grew deeper. Jack began to fall in love. The age difference didn't bother him. He was fascinated by her wisdom and charisma. Mrs. Evelyn started inviting him to her vast mansion more and more often. They spent evenings together, lost in conversations that filled Jack with a sense of mystery. Soon, he couldn't imagine his life without her. One evening, while sitting by the fireplace, Evelyn told Jack about a curse that plagued her family. She confessed that many of her relatives had died under strange circumstances. Every man who fell in love with a woman from her bloodline soon met his end. But Jack only smiled, thinking it was just one of her stories designed to scare him off. However, one night, Jack woke up to strange noises coming from the basement. Filled with curiosity, he decided to explore the mansion. When he descended into the basement, he was met with a horrifying sight. In the center of the room stood an ancient statue, surrounded by candles. Next to the statue lay a book in an unknown language, and nearby were portraits of young men, each of whom looked eerily familiar. He realized they were just like him, young, in love, and all had vanished. Panic set in. He tried to leave but felt hands on his shoulders. It was Mrs. Evelyn. Her face had changed. It became cold and merciless. "You think I'm just an old woman, Jack?" Her voice sounded almost otherworldly. "Every man who falls in love with me gives me his life. It's the only way to keep my youth and power." Jack wanted to run, but his legs wouldn't move. He felt the life drain from his body. The last thing he saw were Evelyn's eyes, now inhuman, like two black voids. Her face began to change. Wrinkles disappeared, and before him stood not an old woman, but a young, stunningly beautiful girl. "Thank you for your sacrifice, Jack," she said with a smile. The next morning, the police found the mansion empty. Neither Mrs. Evelyn nor Jack was there. The only thing left of him was his student ID card, lying in a dusty corner of the basement. And now, years later, a new victim was already walking the path toward the old mansion, where a young, mysterious woman named Evelyn awaited him. This story is filled with mystery and slowly unfolding intrigue, ending with a dark and ominous twist.